Cô xin lỗi nhá. Cô xin lỗi là cô không muốn là cháu ảnh hưởng đến gia đình nhà cô, là ảnh hưởng đến cháu à? Anh ổn định và quan tâm. Cô phải thưa cô có được không?
The dawn broke gently over Diep's humble farm, a fragile refuge battered by the fury of the previous night's storm. The air saturated with the scent of rain-soaked earth and splintered wood. The first rays of sunlight pierced through the lingering mist, illuminating a courtyard strewn with debris, shattered planks, a torn burlap sack, and scattered leaves, remnants of a landslide that had carved a jagged scar through the land. Diep rose from her creaky wooden bed, her body heavy with the weight of a restless night. She splashed cold water from a dented tin basin onto her face, the icy sting pulling her fully into the day, her reflection in the basin's surface showing dark circles under her eyes. Stepping outside, her bare feet sank into the muddy soil, and her breath caught at the sight of Co. James slumped in a weathered chair beneath the sagging porch roof. His tailored jacket was crumpled, his face etched with exhaustion from a night spent outdoors, too weary to drive home after helping her through the storm's chaos. Her heart ached with a mix of gratitude and concern as she approached, her voice soft but laced with worry. James, you slept out here all night? Weren't you going to head home? Your back must be aching. James stirred, his eyes bleary as he rubbed his stiff neck, a groan escaping his lips. I meant to leave, but exhaustion hit me hard. This chair's a punishment, my back's screaming. It's late, isn't it? I've got a packed day ahead. Diep surveyed the wreckage around them, her brow furrowing. I just woke up myself. I haven't fed the chickens or ducks yet, but I'll get to them soon. James stood, his joints cracking as he stretched, his expression pained. It's just a dull ache. I'll head home soon. Need to clean up and tackle some business in town. Diep brushed dirt from her hands, her tone brightening with resolve. I was thinking of harvesting something today. Maybe make use of what's still standing. James managed a tired smile, his gaze softening. Let me take you then. Get your work clothes and we'll find something to gather. It'll take your mind off this mess. Diep hesitated, then nodded, her voice teasing. All right, but I bet my back's just as stiff. I should have dragged you inside to share the mat. She slipped back into her small room, returning moments later with a faded scarf tying back her hair, a worn book clutched under her arm. Ready? Let's put this book inside. It's too precious to get ruined out here, she said, tucking it into a wooden box by the door. They set off down a muddy path toward a neighbor's orchard, the landscape around them a patchwork of flooded fields and leaning trees, the vibrant red vi fruit on the branches ahead glowing like embers in the morning light, reminiscent of the lush harvests in the photos. James gestured toward the orchard, his voice lifting with a hint of excitement. There's a vi tree over there loaded with fruit. Let's ask the owner if we can pick some. Too Deep grabbed a long bamboo pole leaning against a fence, its surface worn smooth from years of use, and called out as they approached the small house nestled among the trees. Bà ơi, chào bà. Can we pick some of your vải? Are they for sale? An elderly woman stepped onto her porch, her figure framed by the greenery in the images, her smile warm and welcoming. Of course, Chow, take what you need. Too Deep's face lit up with gratitude. Thank you, Ba, we'll get started. She turned to James, her tone shifting to concern. James, you should probably head back to your work. I can manage here. James sighed, running a hand through his tousled hair, his expression reluctant. All right, I'll go. Be careful, Nay, don't overwork yourself. He turned to leave, his footsteps heavy on the sodden path, casting a lingering glance over his shoulder. Too Deep set to work, the bamboo pole striking the branches with a rhythmic thud, each tap sending clusters of ripe vine tumbling to the ground, their red skins catching the sunlight like drops of fire. She moved with quiet determination, gathering the fallen fruit into neat piles, her hands deftly tying them into large bundles with a length of twine from her pocket. The weight of each bundle grew, a tangible symbol of her resilience, a small step toward rebuilding her life. This bunch is massive, look at these, she murmured to herself, holding up a particularly heavy cluster, its richness echoing the harvest scenes in the photos. Sweat beaded on her forehead as the morning heat rose, the hum of insects filling the air, their bites prickling her arms. She swatted them away, her thoughts drifting to the farm's future. If I can sell these, maybe I can help James with the repairs, she thought, her resolve hardening. She picked another cluster, inspecting it closely. This one's the biggest yet, but it's a bit green, still good though. After an hour, her basket brimmed with fruit, and she approached the old woman once more, her voice respectful. Ba oi, I'll leave some money for you. I need to head to the market now. The woman nodded, her eyes kind, and Too Deep hefted her basket, the bundles swaying as she set off, her steps quick with purpose, the promise of earnings lighting her path. The forest stretched endlessly before James and his new business partner, Duk, a dense tapestry of towering trees standing like ancient guardians under a sky heavy with the promise of more rain. The muddy path leading into the plantation glistened with the sheen of recent storms, its surface pocked with puddles that reflected the gray clouds above. The air was thick with the earthy aroma of wet pine, moss, and the faint sharp tang of sap, a reminder of the rainy season's relentless grip on the land. James' truck rolled to a stop at the forest's edge, its tires sinking into the softened earth with a soft squelch, and Duk, waiting near a cluster of young saplings, wiped sweat from his brow, his boots caked with mud. James is late, what's keeping him? Duk muttered under his breath, his impatience evident as he spotted the vehicle pulling up. James stepped out, the humidity clinging to his skin like a second layer, his rolled-up sleeves already damp as he extended a hand in greeting. Duk, good to see you. I got here as soon as I could. These roads are a nightmare after the rain. I heard you've got 2 timber hills for sale. Duk nodded, his tone brisk but professional as he adjusted the brim of his weathered cap. Right, 5,000 trees total, all over 15 years old. High-quality wood, ready to harvest. I'm here on behalf of Tuan to close the deal with you. James followed him into the grove, the sun piercing through the canopy in sharp golden beams, casting dappled shadows across the forest floor, reminiscent of the rugged yet serene wooded scenes captured in the photos. Let's take a look. The weather's brutal after these storms. Summer's here, and it's not letting up. These hills, they're about 10 to 15 years old. Diep corrected with a quiet pride, his voice steady over the rustle of leaves stirred by a gentle breeze. 13 years to be exact, well-tended, strong, and thriving. They ventured deeper into the first hill, the ground uneven beneath their boots, roots snaking across the path like gnarled veins through the earth. The forest hummed with life, birds chirping faintly in the high branches, the occasional drip of rainwater from leaves, and the distant creak of wood bending in the wind. James paused at a towering tree, its trunk wide enough that his arms couldn't encircle it, running his hand over the rough bark, its texture cool and slightly damp under his fingers. These are something else. Maybe 70 million per tree? I've had buyers circling for months, but the price never aligned. Diep smiled, stepping back to take in the tree's full height, its branches stretching toward the sky like outstretched arms, scraping the clouds. They look modest from a distance, don't they? But up close they're giants, over 10 meters tall, some even pushing 12. This hill's the best in the region, hands down. James nodded, his mind flashing to similar timber lots he'd seen in the photos, the kind that promised both profit and a grueling challenge. I've scouted this area before. Never met the owner though. This is a top-tier lot worth every bit of effort to secure. Let's talk numbers. For 5,000 trees, what's your asking price? Diep leaned against a nearby trunk, his arms crossed, his tone firm but open to negotiation. I'd want 700 million VND. It's a fair price for their quality and the years I've put into growing them. James' brow furrowed, his thoughts racing through the logistics, the numbers clicking into place like a mental ledger. That's not unreasonable, but the location's a real hurdle. We're 50 kilometers from the city. Transport costs will be steep. Fuel, labor, maybe 100 trips to haul it all out. I'd offer 650 million. Diep sighed, his gaze drifting to the trees, as if weighing their worth against the offer, his arms uncrossing as he shifted his weight. That's a 50 million drop. I don't like losing that much. These trees are unmatched around here, you know that. James pressed gently, his voice steady and persuasive. We know their value on Diep, but the haul's a beast. 650 million splits the difference, keeps it fair for both of us. Diep hesitated, his jaw tightening as he mulled it over, then finally nodded, his expression resigned but accepting. All right, 650 million deal. James clapped Diep's shoulder with a firm grip, a grin breaking through his serious demeanor. Good man. I'll draft the contract we can sign tomorrow or the day after. We'll put down 400 million as a deposit to lock it in. Diep's expression turned cautious, his eyes scanning the darkening sky, the clouds growing heavier with the threat of another downpour. Just harvest quickly once it's yours. I don't want them sitting too long. They're ready now, and I'd hate to see them go to waste. James followed his gaze, noting the ominous gray above, the air growing heavier with the scent of impending rain. Rainy season's in full swing. Harvesting might need to wait 2 months. The ground's too wet. We can't risk the trucks getting bogged down in the mud. Diep agreed, his tone practical as he kicked at a clump of earth with his boot. Fair enough. 2 months then. Let me know when you're ready to move. Just don't let it drag on longer than that. James pulled out his phone, tapping a quick note to himself, his fingers swift despite the humidity making the screen slick. I'll tell Tuan tonight about the deal. Let's get back before the rain catches us. As they trekked back to the truck, the first drops began to fall, pattering softly on the leaves above. James muttered to himself, a wry smile tugging at his lips. Lost 50 million there. He's a sharp negotiator. But it's a solid deal for both of us. Diep chuckled, overhearing him. You drive a hard bargain too, James. Let's hope the weather doesn't cost us more than that. Meanwhile, Diep had arrived at the bustling city market, her woven basket brimming with the Vi bundles she'd harvested earlier, their red skins gleaming like polished rubies under the morning sun. The market was a chaotic symphony of life, vendors shouting over each other to hawk their wares, from piles of golden mangoes to baskets of fresh greens, while customers haggled with practiced ease, their voices a lively hum that filled the air. The scene buzzed with the same vibrant energy captured in the photos, a tapestry of color and sound that felt both familiar and daunting. Diep found a spot near a fruit seller, a middle-aged woman with a weathered face and a kind smile, and spread her cloth on the ground, arranging the Vi with care, each bundle a testament to her morning's labor. "Vet Vi, picked this morning, sweet and ripe," she called out, her voice clear and confident, cutting through the market's din like a bell. An elderly man in a faded conical hat shuffled over, his eyes crinkling as he tasted one, the juice staining his fingers a faint pink. "Tart but sweet, perfect. I'll take a kilo," he said, handing over a crumpled bill with a nod of approval. A young mother followed, her children tugging at her skirt, their eyes wide with excitement. "Can we have some, Ma? They look so juicy," one pleaded, and the mother relented, buying 2 kilos after a quick taste, her smile warm as she thanked Diep. The sales came quickly, a steady stream of customers drawn by the fruit's quality, some praising its freshness, others haggling for a small discount, their voices blending into a lively chorus around Diep's modest stall. A group of teenagers stopped by, their laughter ringing out as they shared a Vi, the juice dripping down their chins. "These are the best we've had all season," one exclaimed, buying a small bundle for the road. An older woman, her basket already heavy with vegetables, paused to chat, her voice warm. "You picked these yourself, Chow? They're beautiful. I'll take a kilo for my grandkids." Diep nodded, her hands moving swiftly to weigh and bag the fruit, her smile genuine despite the ache in her arms from the morning's work. "Yes, Ba. Straight from the tree this morning." Within an hour and a half, her stock had nearly vanished. The camp was quiet and clean when Diep picked up a vibrant Vi bunch, its red fruit a thoughtful gift for James' mother. She walked to the elegant house, its porch framed by lush greenery like the photos, her heart pounding with a mix of nerves and gratitude. Inside, James' mother welcomed her with a warm smile, her eyes soft with kindness. "I've been swamped so I couldn't visit, Co. I brought some Vi for you," Diep said, offering the fruit with a shy bow. The mother took it, her face lighting up as she examined the cluster. "How are you, Chow? You look healthier." Diep nodded, brushing a stray hair from her face. "I'm better now, Co. The walk wasn't too bad." The mother tasted a Vi, her expression delighted. "These are wonderful, sweet with a slight tang. Did you grow them?" Diep shook her head. "No, Co, they're from a neighbor's tree." The mother smiled. "This type's good, James might want to plant some. A bit tart, but that's vita for you." She leaned closer, her tone warm. "How are you and James?" Diep's cheeks warmed, her voice soft. "He visited yesterday, Co. We cleared up a misunderstanding. It's all okay now." The mother nodded, relieved. "Good. Sort out any trouble early. I don't want you two drifting apart. I didn't expect you to be so warm-hearted." Too Deep hesitated. Masked men attacked me recently. James' friend Tongue saved me. He got hurt. I took him to the farm to thank him, and James saw us there. We've talked it out. Tongue and I are just friends. The mother's eyes widened with concern. Why would anyone target you? You're so kind. Too Deep's voice dropped. Tongue said they're James' rivals. Maybe John trying to take his company. They're going after his loved ones. The mother gasped. John? I've heard whispers. Are you all right? Too Deep nodded. I'm fine, Co. Don't worry. The mother's voice softened. I'm sorry, Chow. Stay here a while, it's safer. What do you think? Too Deep fidgeted. The camp feels safe. I don't want to trouble you. The mother took her hand, her grip warm. I care for you, Chow, be honest. It'd help James focus. I hate that you're caught in this. Too Deep's eyes misted. Your kindness reminds me of my mom. I lost her young. It means so much. The mother hugged her, tears in her eyes. I lost my parents too. I'd love to be here for you. James entered, rain-soaked. Mom, I'm back. Floods hit hard. Deep, you here long? Too Deep smiled. Just got here. I need to feed the animals. The mother said, stay for dinner. Too Deep declined. I should go, my farm needs me. James nodded. I'll go, I'll keep her safe. They left on a motorbike, passing flood-ravaged fields, the damage vast like in the photos, their future uncertain but their bond unyielding.
Yes, if you know anyone here who is a recent reader or widower, I would appreciate talking to her or him. Again, to my surprise, she told me about Phyllis, a spas health director who had lost her husband several months before. I invited Phyllis to have lunch with me the next day, and we quickly established some common ground. We were about 10 years apart in age, but she had also been with her husband for about 50 years. She talked of how they met and what their life had been like. And I could tell by her stories and the warmth of her tone of voice that she, too, had a happy marriage. Then it was my turn, and all I could do was cry as I told the story of my own husband's battle with cancer and chronic pain. As a coach, I'm used to asking people what they have learned from their experiences, so it was natural for me to ask her for advice on what happened her deal with the crossing